And now, here to let you know there is no perfect movie, here is Tyler Wolff.
I'm Tyler.
And I'm Caleb.
And we're here to let you know that BlackKklansman is no perfect movie. And it's based on the true life story of Ron Stallworth, the first black cop in Colorado, who for 9 months posed over the phone as a wannabe Klansman recruit. And in order to get more intel on them and what kind of terrorist attacks they were planning on, they sent in an undercover narcotics detective, who in this movie is played by Adam Driver, to fill in for him. Because, needless to say, he couldn't really show up to those meetings himself.
I didn't even realize this was based on a true story, honestly.
Well, see, here's the thing.
There's news to me now, folks.
There obviously are some fictionalized stuff, and, you know, there are certain scenes where you know for a fact it really didn't happen.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's gotten a little bit of crap from that. Boots Riley, the director of Sorry to Bother You, has shat on it so much. Mainly the fact that they made the undercover cop a Jew for this movie to give more, depth to it. And according to him, in his mind, that's a bad thing, and I can understand why, but at the same time, the interesting thing is making him a Jew kind of does add more questions in regards to, how much he's willing to give in to the hate just to do his job and to protect other people. Mm-hmm. At least that's how I felt.
That's true. I would agree with that. Yeah, for sure.
And, here's the thing. I wasn't super excited for this movie before, I saw any of the trailers or anything, because I'm not a Spike Lee guy. For me, he's a black man's Woody Allen minus all the creepy stuff about him.
I did sort of cringe when I saw this trailer a little bit. Okay. But not for the reasons that you kind of felt iffy about it. In the last or other videos that I've been in, with you, I've discussed that there's been a lot of movies like this that come into theaters, and it's nice when there's a different movie like Pacific Rim Uprising. I've used that as an example.
Yeah,
I'm using it again, but deal with it. But I mean, I'm never entirely opposed to seeing movies like this. Get Out was great for what it was. I mean, there's a lot like that, like The Butler and stuff like that, and constant reminders that I'm Caleb and I have there's an oppression to being black and stuff like that, and there's but you
also
it's good for what it is.
But you also told me last night it was more of the number of these movies as opposed to
the sheer number of them compared to movies where a character like Idris Elba's character in Dark Tower and Jake Pentecost from Pacific Rim Uprising, comparatively, there's not nearly as much movies with a kung fu martial artist being black, in what was that? The Last Dragon.
I don't know. I'm kind of hoping Bushmaster gets his own kung fu movie at some point.
Yeah.
Because I'd watch that.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
I do agree that there need to be more movies where it's just they're black and that's all that matters.
It's not plays into the plot so much. So this movie is going to get a lot of praise, I'm sure.
It has.
Yeah, and it's great.
And it's gotten just as much crap.
Yeah.
Well, because I've seen so many things that say it's ham-fisted, it's still giving praise to the white man, and I'm like, I don't know if it's that much.
Giving praise to the white man. You're an idiot.
Well, it's because Adam Driver gets... It's because Adam Driver gets so much focus as the undercover cop who has to question his own belief system. And not gonna lie, I did kind of like Adam Driver more than John David Washington, but part of that is because I've never seen John David Washington in anything other than Ballers. Mm-hmm. I had no idea he was even Denzel Washington's kid. I should have known that because the voice is like almost the exact same.
Wait, what?
Yeah. John David Washington is Denzel Washington's kid.
Fuck off.
I'm serious. The whole movie, I was sitting there, I'm like, I've seen and heard this guy before, I just don't know where. And then I looked it up, and I heard it, and I'm like...
That's interesting. Wait,
I'm
his
like,
real life kid, though?
Yeah.
Wow. But I guess I see what you mean when you say that Adam Driver's character is more interesting.
I don't know if that was intentional, but...
Yeah, you're wondering about the internal, And
it's not like
question.
It's not like Ron's a bad character. He's not. And, like, Washington does give a good performance where, because of the fact that we had no idea who he was, he definitely does not live under his dad's shadow.
I did think that it was a little bit unconvincing. I mean, they were talking about him being able to talk with like Ebonics and that slanguage, so to speak,
To be like jive
and also
and then...
be jive and also talk like the rest of the cops on the force and stuff like that.
Right.
He works with. I don't see him being that convincing. I don't see him really showing like that ability. Like he would there were parts where he would try to talk jive and stuff like that and with the language and stuff like that, but there wasn't really that much of a difference between the serious
See, I didn't mind that because like you can only hear black characters in movies talk jive so much. Just hearing him talk plain, not use any slang or whatever, it just blended in because for the first time I wasn't looking at him as a black man, I was just looking at him as a character.
I just thought that when he was explaining that he could do both, it's like me. I could say that I could do both. I know both, but I can't do both. That's
it didn't bug.
Can't do both.
See, it didn't bug me because it really didn't play into the plot all that much.
No, it. I just thought that would have been cool to see because, that happens to me. You know what I mean?
Out of all like the black stereotypes
you don't
they
talk
analyze,
black, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like out of all the black stereotypes they kind of analyzed, that wasn't one of them.
Mm-hmm.
One that they did analyze that kind of bugged me a little bit was the whole public perception of whether police are entirely good or entirely bad, and how the majority doesn't really see it in both ways. Because I have a family member who is in the Ontario Police Force, and they are good people. They did so much for me as a little kid. I still keep in touch with them nowadays, but it isn't like on as regular of a basis. And when I hear people just like flat out call the entire police system corrupt without acknowledging the people who do good work and want to change as much as we do, even after police save their own asses, it just pisses me off so much, especially Stallworth's girlfriend in this movie, who... It's one of those things. I don't agree with her philosophy. I get where she's coming from, but at the same time, she has been abused by police. I'm not denying that.
Yeah.
But she was saved by police at some point in the movie, too, and her thoughts, for whatever reason, are exactly the same. That makes no sense to me.
I actually have a cousin who recently joined the force, so that's been sort of interesting to me.
Okay. It's just something that I don't think...
she would have developed differently. It would have been better.
That plus, it's something I wish...
Past that, yeah.
It's something I wish people would acknowledge in the media and just in life in general.
Yeah.
Which is another great thing about this movie. Like, the themes about it can, in a really uncomfortable way, can still apply to today. Because in the 70s, and even now, because we do get a reminder at the end of the movie... There are still corrupt individuals with questionable and kind of bigoted viewpoints who still are trying and in most cases getting like a certain amount of political power. And it's good to see a movie that, even though in the end they don't accomplish that much, I don't think I'm really giving anything away saying that, but they do contribute to keeping people safe, and that is the job. And it's good to see a movie that, like, for as huge as it's been built up, it kind of has a small motive and a small message to it. Mm-hmm. And in regards to Spike Lee's direction, it was so invisible that I kind of forgot it was him directing it, because usually when it's him, it is pretty obvious. The stylistic stuff in this that I really appreciated was, especially during the seminar, when, whether you want to call him Kwame or Stokely Carmichael, whichever one you want, when he's giving the speech and it has all those, like, fade-ins of the reactions to his words, that had a lot of power to it, because
that
if you're giving
really interesting, yeah.
If you're giving a speech, cut to the speech, and then cut to all the reactions, because if you have more than one at the same time, it'll hit you hard.
Everybody inspired, yeah.
And like, that was another...
Yeah.
And that was another scene about Ron where, like, that was when I started to connect with him, because his reactions were as dumbfounded as everybody else. And he realizes just how conflicted the world is in general. Because the other thing I don't like about Spike Lee is that his movies are usually more about the message than the characters. Do the Right Thing, there was an equal balance. And I think that's why everybody says that's his best.
Yeah.
And before I forget, performance-wise, there was one that really surprised me, and that was Topher Grace as Grand Wizard David Duke.
Oh, God.
I did not know what to expect knowing that he was playing Duke, because, you know, we all think of him as Foreman or Venom or that real wimp from Predators.
He has this sort of, this vibe that he gives off when he plays characters that's sort of pushover-y, but...
But I kind of like that about him.
Of course, that's great.
I like that about him in 70s Show, because that led to him giving, like, a lot of the best lines, at least in my opinion. He was one of my favorites. But in all seriousness, he's good. He was, like, in my opinion, the most disgusting character out of all of them, just because he is, on the surface, this legitimate businessman who... Yeah, regardless of whether he hates you, he still talks to you in a polite manner.
And people think he's sweet and everything, and they're like, no, he's not. He's not selling ice cream cones with poison. You know, he's not. You know what I mean? He's not selling ice cream with poison.
But then, when he takes part in the Klan activities, which were the scenes I thought he was really gonna blow, he pulled it off just by not overacting, just like delivering his lines like it was any other scene. And all the actors who play the Klansmen do that. Well, in the end, guys, we could go on and on about how Black Klansman is going to piss Sean Hannity off, but in all seriousness, the direction, the performances, and just how relevant the movie is today make it one of the more surprising movies that I've ever seen. That I've seen this year, anyways. For a movie that's based on some for real shit, as the opening credits need to remind us. But overall, I liked it more than I actually thought I would. And for that reason, I think I'm going to give BlackKklansman a 4 out of 5.
I'll give it a 6 out of 10.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think it holds a candle to Sorry to Bother You, though. I'll say that.
No.
Spike Lee, he delivered. You know, if you had any doubts, I'd say he delivered, but...
yeah, which is more than we can say about anything he's made recently.
Yeah. I don't think I'll need a second viewing, I'll say that. I
don't think you can get a second viewing just because of how uncomfortable some of it is.
It's a good movie, but if I'm being perfectly honest, we need more movies like The Last Dragon, Pacific Rim Uprising, and The Dark Tower.
I don't know if we
better written, maybe.
Yeah,
sure.
Like maybe not the movies, but like the casting. We need better casting.
The casting.
But yeah, thank you guys for watching all the way through. Thank you once again for joining me on this.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. Now, tune us out.
Be sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more No Perfect Movie reviews.